as well. So before we can start adding in our up strums, we're going to practice counting out loud. So we see there we have C, 2, 3, 4 down at the bottom, but we're going to practice counting in between those numbers as well. And those little plus signs we're going to call and. So instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So let's try practice out loud together. We'll do a few rounds of it. So I'll count us in the first time and then you join in. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Brilliant. So now I want you to grab your ukulele, make sure it's in tune, and we're going to make the C chord. So we're going to use our ring finger on the first string and the third fret. And we're going to count out loud together, and we're going to strum only on the numbers. We won't strum on the ands. So I'll count us in. So I'll count out 4 first, and then we'll play it together. So get your C shape ready. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Well done. Now we're going to practice our up strums. So for now we're just going to think of the little plus signs or our ands as up strums. So we see at the bottom there we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we don't have any down strums and we only have up strums on the ands. So that sounds like this. On the C chord. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So to make our up strums, we're going to use our index finger, the same one we're using to strum down through the strings. And after we've strummed down, our finger is below the strings, and we're just going to turn our wrist the opposite way, back up towards us. And we're going to let our finger brush through the strings. So make sure you don't have a stiff finger. Just like we like to keep it nice and loose for our down strums, we're going to do the same for our up strums, except we're going to gently pull our finger towards us. So let's practice our up strums on the ands. And remember, we don't strum downwards and we're not strumming on the numbers. So I'm going to count us in 4, and then we're going to do it together, okay? Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Brilliant. So make sure to pause the video and practice counting out loud yourself and strumming it by yourself, and make sure to do it as slow as you want. Give yourself plenty of time. Now we're going to practice putting our up strums and our down strums together. So we see there down at the bottom that we have our down strums on the numbers, So on 1, 2, 3 and 4. And we have our up strums in between them on our ands. So our wrist is going to be turning back and forth basically. So we're going to make sure we count out loud. We're going to practice it nice and slow. And very importantly, when we're strumming, especially when we're strumming up, make sure your finger isn't stiff. Keep it nice and loose. So usually after we strum down the way, we lift our finger above the strings to go back up to the top, making sure not to touch them. And we strum down again on the 2. And we lift it on the 3 and back up to the 4. But this time, instead of lifting our finger above the strings and going past them, we're going to be brushing our finger back through the strings. So we go down on the 1 and we just go back in reverse for the and, for our up strum, and then back down on the 2, then twist our wrist back up on the and then down on the 3, back up, down on the 4, and back up. So let's practice doing this together. We'll start off nice and slow. Remember, we strum down on the numbers and up on the ands. And we're just getting used to the feeling of our wrist going back and forth and brushing our finger down and up through the strings. So here we go. I'll count us in 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So this would be a good time to pause the video, and I want you to count it out by yourself and strum along with it. And the more you do it, the more used to it your wrist gets. So you can start off nice and slow, and then the more you get used to it and the more you practice, you can speed it up and see how fast you can get. Like this. Start off slow. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. But remember, before we can get fast, we have to start off nice and slow and start to build it up from there. So we're going to take a look at our first strumming pattern here. The reason we add up strums to our songs and different strumming patterns is that it makes them more lively. It's a bit more exciting than just strumming down on each beat. So this pattern we have here, we have 2 up strums added in, one after 3 and one after 4. So on the and of 3 and the and of 4. So that sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So to help you with your up strums, I find it helps to say the ands a bit louder or a bit harder. So we go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I'm going to count this out in 4 and then we're going to try and play it together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And we'll try that again. I'll count this in again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So let's try it a few times in a row. I'll count us in again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Very good. So try practice that by yourself and get used to the movement in your wrist. So let's try practicing our new strumming pattern to the chords of Shotgun. So we're going to make sure we do it nice and slow, giving our wrist plenty of time to move. And be careful not to try and change between the chords too fast. Take it nice and easy at a steady pace. Make sure to pause the video if you need to brush up on the chords we're going to be using here. We have C, we have F, we have A minor, and we have G. And we're going to use the same strumming pattern for each of those chords. I'll show you what it sounds like now. C and 2 and 3 and 4 and F and 2 and 3 and 4 and A minor, 2 and 3 and 4 and G and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now we can try it together, nice and slow. I'll count us in. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and C and 2 and 3 and 4 and F and 2 and 3 and 4 and A minor and 2 and 3 and 4 and G and 2 and 3 and 4 and C and 2 and 3 and 4 and F and 2 and 3 and 4 and A minor and 2 and 3 and 4 and G and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Again, you can pause the video now and you can give it a go at your own pace. Just make sure to count out loud with it. Now we're going to move on to our second strumming pattern. Now this pattern is going to take a little bit more practice, so be very sure to take your time with it and take it nice and slow. So first we're going to look at where we're strumming down and where we're strumming up. We have a down strum on 1, we have nothing on the and of 1, then we have another down strum on 2, and right after that on the and of 2 we have an up strum. And now we have nothing on 3. And then right after 3, we have another up strum. And then we go down on 4 and back up on the and of 4. So I'll show you what that sounds like now. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So if I was to speed that up, this is what it sounds like. And if I was to count that out loud, it'll be very quick. It sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But before we can do that, we need to start off nice and slow. Now the most important thing to remember is that after our first up strum, the next strum we're going to be doing is another up strum, because we'd be very tempted to do a down strum after any up strum we do. So make sure to remember that after our first up strum on the and after 2, our next strum is going to be an up strum on the and after 3. So we have 2 down strums and then 2 up strums and then 1 down and 1 up. So let's try practice the pattern together now. Or if you want, you can pause the video and practice it yourself first and then play along with me. So I'm going to count this in now. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So another way we can count this out is by saying down, down, up, down, up. Now it can make a difference which way we say this. We don't want to say it very flat like a robot, like down, down, up, down, up. We want to put a bit of a bounce in it, and it really helps. Down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, up. You can do it much slower. Down, down, up, down, up. So looking at the strumming pattern in front of you, I want you to try playing out the A minor chord, and I want you to try count out down, down, up, down, up, along with it. So if you're after practicing the strumming pattern by itself and you feel like you have the hang of it, we can try test it out on the chords for Riptide. So we see the 3 chords we have here are A minor, G, and C. And the strumming pattern that we're doing repeats for every chord. So we do the pattern out once for A minor, we do it once for G, and then we do it twice for C. So what that sounds like all put together is A, G, C. Down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, up. So now we're going to try play it together. We're going to be starting on A minor, and I'm going to count this in, and we'll play it very slowly. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and G and 2 and 3 and 4 and C and 2 and 3 and 4 and C and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now when you're so used to it that your wrist knows when to strum down and when to strum up, you can practice playing the progression faster. Make sure to keep your wrist and your finger nice and loose and to keep it bouncy. And those are our 2 strumming patterns. You can use either of those patterns for almost any song. You could use the first strumming pattern we did with Riptide, or you could use the second strumming pattern we did with Shotgun. It's completely up to you. Just make sure you practice the strumming patterns by themselves before you try to put them into songs. You can use whatever chords you like when you're practicing, and you can change to whatever chords you like. Just make sure you count out loud while you're practicing. So you're counting your 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now with this video, I've sent you on 3 sheets and 2 videos. The first sheet has both strumming patterns that we did and an example from Shotgun and an example from Riptide. The 2 other sheets have the words and the chords from Shotgun and Riptide, so you can use that to practice along to. The first video is me playing Shotgun, And the second video is me playing Riptide, and they're for you to practice along with. Just make sure you practice the strumming patterns by themselves before you try to play along with them. And if you practice them every day, they'll become super easy to you. So best of luck, and I'll talk to you again in our next lesson.